Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Discussing a Murderer, episode 33. With me today is the full panel. Jack is back, so let's check in with Jack first and welcome Jack. How you doing, Jack? How you doing, bud?
Doing very well. Hello to the panel and everyone in the live chat. Sorry I missed the last one, but well, we'll just call that a bonehead move and move on. I'm doing good though. Thanks.
Awesome. And Dr. Silkman, welcome and good morning.
Thank you very much, Jeff. It's great to be here, and I'd like to welcome all my fellow panel members and everyone in chat. What a great episode the last one was. Let's hope this one will be even better. Thank you so much, everyone.
And Big Jeff, on the road again, but glad to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you. What's the word we like to use, Tony? It was a ripper, right? Last episode. I hope, Jack, when you finally hear the last episode back, that we did you proud. We certainly missed you. Glad you're back. I'm looking forward to more of Kathleen Zeldner digging deeper and deeper into the case. It was good last week to talk about the phones. Maybe there'll be even more about the phones today. Who knows? I haven't done my homework. We're gonna hit it as it goes. So looking forward to getting it. Let's get to it.
Absolutely. Let's get to it. Good morning, Kel. How you doing?
Good morning, everyone, panel and everyone in chat. And let's get going. I think we're doing well in terms of time. So I think we should aim to get some more done today in terms of the episode.
Deep.
Let's try to come in from that angle and then see if we can. So there's kind of a
Clearing out there?
yeah, there's kind of a clearing.
Want me to check it out?
Yeah. I can go in a little bit, but see, I also thought maybe this possibly the car was ditched back here. Like if you pulled it back in there, I just don't think. And so we're saying like before they even know she's missing,
Yeah.
if you got it pulled into here, you'd never see it.
No.
Why don't we go up? Stephen was thinking there was a dumping ground back here where a car could have been pulled in. So I don't know.
I mean,
I think he was talking about the grade dropping off back here. So if you brought it in, say down that way.
yeah. And in October, November 2005, this berm wasn't here.
Yeah.
There was a track that ran, along the field all the way to Stephen's trailer.
Right.
Basically, what that gentleman is talking about is the cornfield, the picked cornfield between Stephen Avery's property and Cuss Road. If you look at the geography now, there's a quarry there. That area is completely gone, so it doesn't look the same as it did back in 2005. If you're looking at current pictures, you really need to go back and look at historical pictures. It looks completely different now as compared to 2005. There was a track that ran between Cuss Road and Stephen Avery's property. And Stephen also made the comment that Josh Radon used to drive, I think, an ATV vehicle from Cuss Road right through to his property to get a shortcut. So a lot of people use that road.
You're home.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel better being home?
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. I talked to Stephen this morning.
Was that the first time you talked to him since you got home Wednesday?
Then I
Yeah.
talked to Stephen.
So he must have been happy, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because he was
I
worried.
couldn't wait to get home.
That's what Stephen was saying. He just got home. He'd be
therapy by myself. I don't
Yeah.
need nobody.
I'm sure you're way better than you were a week ago.
Oh yeah, a
You
lot
know,
better.
and by next week you'll be even better. And then ultimately
Ready to dance.
you're gonna be ready to dance, man. You're gonna be like dancing all of. I'll come back here and you'll be dancing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good you got all of them helping you.
Huh?
It's good you got all of them helping you.
Oh yeah, I got
You know?
enough help.
Did anything happen yet?
Yeah.
Soon?
Can't tell you. I'm not going to tell you when. I know when. But you have to figure we haven't just been like lollygagging around.
Mm-hmm.
So the first post-conviction attorneys worked on it 900 days.
Wow. Oh God.
I've been on it 400. So we've been on it half the amount of time. But you can't just throw something together.
Right.
I mean, you
No.
throw it together and you go nowhere, you know, and everybody else is lost. Everyone else has lost this thing.
I know it takes a lot. This is the last shot.
Yeah, but I got it all covered. I got every single detail covered.
That's
So
good.
there's nothing for you to worry about. You just want to be able to dance soon. You're gonna need to dance.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna go, but
Okay.
I'll be in touch with you.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. You'll be hearing from me.
When the truth comes out, people will know I didn't do it. And that's what I got the good attorney for, you know. She's going to get to the bottom of this, and you figure the killer's still out there. He could have did it again. Just like my last case. If he was caught, he went to rape another woman. So that crime wouldn't have happened.
This is what I think is most likely wood.
So he's saying, Jeff, some of that stuff is wood.
Okay.
I guess that makes sense in the garage.
Yeah. Some of the wood particles look more like solid wood, and some of it looks more like pressed board or plywood or something.
I just want to say how amazing that microscope technology is, and then the 3D model rendering is today, because he just said this looks like a hardwood and this looks like a plywood material, and to be able to distinguish those two things is pretty impressive. That's all. I mean, that's all I want to say. I'd be surprised if they could tell me that it was wood. Oh, that's wood. This is wood material. But he's saying you can differentiate solid wood to a plywood, and that is just really next level for me.
Well, not only that, Jeff, but Chris Palanek, if he was asked, he actually could have determined the species of wood that was present in item FL. So he's a trace element expert. So what he could have done was literally take out the wood from the lead and actually identified the species of wood where it came from. So he can actually determine through the density of the wood shards, the fact that there were different types of wood elements that were present in the bullet. And later on, we can see that Kathleen Zellner almost reproduces item FL by doing a very simple experiment. This goes to show and is proof positive that item FL never struck skull. It actually went through a wooden object.
Yeah, what I find interesting about that analysis that I didn't pick up on before was that he stated that that one piece was a hardwood, right, and the other piece was didn't he say pressed wood? That's more like that's more like MDF, medium density fiberboard, or like hardboard, like pegboard that you hang up, to put hooks on and hang tools on. Hardwood is actually hardwood is interesting, and I'm wondering where around that garage you're actually going to be able to find hardwood, right? So just for people who don't know, and I love to do woodworking on the side. Some people around have seen the planter boxes that I like to make in the springtime. The difference between hardwood and softwood is that hardwood is a tree that has leaves, and softwood is a tree that has needles. So pine is a softwood, fir is a softwood. And typically in the construction of a garage or some such, what you'll have on the inside of that garage is, against the walls would be something like not even wood, but like a sheetrock, right? Would be something that you'd have on the inside. If you even had something at all, you wouldn't really have hardwood. Hardwood is like maple, walnut, poplar. Those are hardwoods. Where is their hardwood? Like the studs, the 2x4s, those are typically made out of something like Douglas fir or pine. Where's the hardwood around the thing? You might find that in some expensive clapboarding on the outside of certain homes. The hardwood is baffling to me a little bit. I would bet money there's not even a piece of hardwood in that garage.
I'd have to agree.
Well, what is interesting is that Kathleen Zellner does go to Stephen Avery's garage, and you will actually see some of the internal structure of the garage wall and the interior thin wall paneling, which probably may account for the two different types of woods that are present in item FL. But quite clearly, item FL never struck skull. Would you guys agree with that?
Well, that's probably the more important part of the debate, but yeah.
that is definitive. There are no bone shards in item FL.
And it got out somehow, right? I mean, it's meant to, the hollow point bullet is meant to sort of expand as it enters, a type of fleshy tissue, not escape through the back, So I just don't, it's just a miracle to me that item FL hollow point bullet actually made it out of a body that it got shot into. That to me is amazing. It must have been a grazing shot, right? So I think even more lucky, right? They happened to find the only bullet out of the 15 shots that got fired that was just grazing and didn't end up sort of embedded inside of her.
We're going to conduct an analysis to see if we have any calcium or phosphorus. And if there are particles there should at least be some that are big enough that this resolution can detect it. So these particles are maybe 10 microns. So that's an eighth of your head hair, ballpark. I'll pull spectrum up. I mean, there is a peak where calcium is. There's no phosphorus peak.
So calcium could be from the cement.
It could be from all sorts of stuff. I mean, if you take a sample of dust from somebody's garage floor, a sample of dust, you're usually going to find calcite in it. It's kind of one of those ubiquitous components of dust. It really needs to go.
The bullet had struck a wooden surface at high velocity, right? Because that's the only way that the wooden shards are going to be embedded in the bullet. Mr. Kratz cannot explain how a bullet striking Teresa Halbach, glancing Teresa Halbach, then goes off to strike a wooden surface at high velocity to pick up wooden shards, wax, and red paint. The logic answer is that Ida Mafel had struck a wooden surface, and that's why there are wooden shards in Ida Mafel and no bone.
I just wanted to say, what a grouping of an amazing looking batch of photos under the microscope. This is just some really compelling evidence as far as I'm concerned.
If there's a lot based on that bullet, then
The whole case. That is the cause of death, that fragment we have.
well, you now know that it isn't.
Yeah.
The fact that there is
Protect the bone.
right. The one thing that should be there under that theory.
And based on, looking at them both by stereo microscopy and electron microscopy,
Right.
completely different texture, what we're seeing in the question bullet versus what we see in Luke's control shots. And we don't see any of the calcium and phosphorus together in
Yeah.
the question bullet.
I'm telling you, we cannot duplicate anything they did, okay? With the DNA, we just can't. And
It's swatch.
yeah.
So all this you say is going towards a hearing first.
Yes,
It's
yeah,
just
we have a 300-page petition because I have 10 experts. But she's going to grant the hearing.
Judge who's a speed reader.
Yeah, but it's pretty compelling reading. I mean, because I think we explained the timeline and what happened and where the investigation went off track, how the evidence got planted, all of that stuff. I mean, we've got great.
The state used Ida Mafel to be presented in a court of law in front of a judge and a jury as being the instrument of death, of being the instrument causing Teresa Halbach's death. And we know that the medical examiner got a very important fact wrong. Right, Jack 61. He had said that the bullet was presented to him with the blood of the decedent.
Is critical because this is the cause of death. Everything else is kind of
Well,
window.
putative cause. When you get somebody to
Yes.
lock in like that, and then you can test what they say.
Yeah.
And it comes
Yeah.
up short. Then,
Right. What a plot they've weaved. It's so messed up for them. Thank God I called that guy Luke Haig.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You never would have thought of this. He's gonna love this. This could flip the whole case though, just as one piece of evidence. I think this is it. You know, we've examined the fragment that supposedly went through her head, and we know it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So it just seems like, I just feel like I should go for it. I try not to second guess myself. Don't you feel that way at this point? Like it's like,
Well, it seems like unless I know you're always thinking, so if something else comes to you, then I think that would be a reason for a further delay. But if not, then it does seem, based on what you described, that it should be filed soon.
I don't think it'll get any better than this. You know, no one's going to come forward and confess to the murder now. Maybe that, but the way we've seen it in these other cases, even if they did, you know, they'll think of some way not to
Right.
credit that confession. So the best way is always with the forensic evidence. So, you know, it's kind of like you go off the end of the diving board and you hope there's water below you. And, you know, because he's going to be 55 on July 9th. So
Jeff,
I don't want to wait.
you would think, right, after all the excellent work done by Kathleen Zellner and her experts to basically debunk item FL, prove that item FL had no role in the murder of Teresa Halbach, you would have thought, wow, that's a very, very powerful cornerstone to put in front of a judge to say, hey, look, Your Honor, the state got it completely wrong. The state based everything on item FL being the instrument of death of Teresa Halbach, hence proving Brendan Dassey's so-called coerced narrative. You would have thought that that would have been a powerful piece of kit to use in a filing. And the way the state handled item FL and the way they backtracked and completely walked away is one of the most shocking things I've ever seen. And it's remarkable how Ken Kratz wrote in his book, coolly, calmly, saying, throughout the entire 6 weeks of trial, I never said that item FL struck Teresa Halbach in the skull. I love to get feedback from the panel and the chat, how someone like Ken Kratz can use item FL as a magic trick and then walk away. Guys, what do you think?
Well, I'll weigh in. I think it's absolutely disgusting that you can put an expert on the stand, have that expert say it got her DNA on it when it went through her skull, but somehow have the prosecution sort of disavow and selectively cherry pick on what the expert says. That statement had an impact on the jury, and it simply should not be allowable. That the state expert loses his temper and says something stupid, and that could very well be what happened there. But he said it, and it had that impact on the jury. Ken Kratz should not be able to walk away from that. And Kathleen Zellner is 100% correct, as she seeks to dismantle the state's case. That is an important point and an impactful statement to the jury, and should be, would, in my mind, at least be some grounds for a federal appeal. But unfortunately, that boat has sailed, and that really disappoints me. So, but you're right, it is a magic trick. Over.
Yeah, we want to file.
Okay, I'm gonna have the clerk come up and help you, okay?
Yeah. Please want to file petition. Yes. Have you worked here a long time?
37 years.
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty courthouse. It is one of the nicer ones.
Yeah, very. At least the weather's not. Last time we were here, it was snowing, wet.
Nice day for a ride.
Howdy. Thank you so much.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Pass it. Can you, yeah, why don't you go straight through, because it's, you okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Probably I should take one set. So right now, we've got one for the AG, the judge. And I don't want you to send them out until tomorrow.
So you're going to the Averys now?
Yeah.
Jeff.
Yep. Wait. May I ask if you like this one's a little boring enough? And then
So this, just so people are clear, this is actually her first filing of the motion for post-conviction relief, or does she have anything other? Is it up to an existing filing of hers? And I bet Jack 61 knows the answer to that.
I think this is the. Or yeah, I think this is
filed
the PC,
some scientific
the
testing previously.
Yeah,
yeah,
but I think this is the
yes,
PCR.
Yes.
Still massive though.
Isn't that where Steven's blood was kept? Right there in that little hallway right there? Just saying.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's the clerk's office.
Yeah, if that's the clerk office, yep, that's where all the filing from the 1985 case as well as the 1996 blood vial were just dumped in plastic tubs in the clerk's office.
Yeah. Hang on. Oh, yeah, she just walked in the door. Do you want to talk to her?
Yeah, so you knew I wouldn't let you down, right?
Here. Oh, you bet I knew that. You bet I knew that.
So here it is.
Thank you.
That's his chair.
Oh, that's
I'm
his
in
chair.
chair. I'm sorry.
It's nice to meet you. Gosh.
There's
Yeah.
Earl.
There's Earl.
Earl.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
So finally, we're off to the races.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I slept pretty good last night.
Yeah, you probably slept better than we did.
It was just this morning when I woke up, I said, oh man, it's too early yet.
And that, what time did you wake up?
A little after 4. Yeah, then it was 4:30. Then it was 5 o'clock. Then it was 5:30. I said, oh my God, it's taking too long.
I know. It seemed like forever, didn't it? Just getting to today. You were quiet this time. You didn't tell anyone.
Not even to his mother. One of these days, that's what he would say. One of these days.
One of these days. So probably the other inmates, they'll probably hear that we filed tonight.
Oh yeah, I bet you when I come back from work tonight at 6, they'll be, I think you on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's only a couple of them, they say I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, right.
But most of them are, they say, yeah, go for it, get them.
Yeah.
1 minute.
1 minute?
Yeah.
Call me later otherwise.
Huh?
Can you call your mom back later?
Yeah, tonight.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Bye-bye, Stephen.
Bye. Love you.
Yeah, I love you too.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you for using.
Okay,
You filed that?
today.
How long is that?
So, yeah, she was like, she was stamping it. The clerk was like stamping it. I go, okay, so I want to file this. So I put the first one up. And then I just keep handing them to her. She's going like this, you know?
Mantua County loves us.
Oh, I know. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Good thing I can't drive anymore.
But you can read all this. I want your dad's goofing around. Everybody's like,
You might read one of these a night.
yeah, just read through it. And it's got all the exhibits attached. It tells you everything that happened.
It's been nearly a year and a half since Stephen Avery got a new lawyer who claimed she would exonerate him. Almost 1,300 pages. We were only able to look at it for a few minutes as it's not being distributed in mass just yet. Overloading the staff here at the Milwaukee County Courthouse, the Manitowoc County Courthouse, including us. The goal of the more than 1,200-page motion is to get Stephen Avery a new trial. The bullet fragment found in Avery's garage was not shot through Teresa Halbach's head. Also, the defense attorney points the finger to someone else who knew Teresa Halbach. A bombshell allegation suggesting the real killer may actually have been a former boyfriend of Teresa Halbach. Ineffective counsel during trial, new evidence, ethical violations by prosecutor Ken Kratz, Brady violations, which means prosecutors failed to disclose evidence.
Well, that's exactly what Stephen Avery's attorneys did today. Obviously, the state will have a chance to go through this.
Yeah, I'll be wondering why he's not going to bed. He's sitting here reading. He will too.
Yeah.
He does read that.
When I get done, you can go home.
Yeah. You can read it all night.
He'll be here for a
He
week.
didn't take his glasses off so he can see it.
I just want to stop right here before we get into the next kind of scene and say that there's a really captivating section of TV of filmmaking right there with the quick cuts using the reporters to tell the story. Thought that was a really nice way of delivering the information instead of hearing it from someone else. Let the reporters. I thought that was kind of a cool little edit that they put together. Yeah, this is the thing is we're looking at the past already. We know what we know the outcome of the motion, and so I think watching this at this point is a little bit different than when MAM 2 came out. When MAM 2 came out, it was seen through a different lens. I don't know if you guys want to comment on that.
I agree, Jeff. And of all the music that's played, typically, most of the music that you hear is very downbeat, and that's probably the first time in 2 episodes that you even hear anything upbeat and hear the family laugh and have some semblance of optimism. And that's actually good to know that there was at least a time when they had some hope. And to me, the most horrific thing of all is, excuse me, that the good stuff that Zellner had in that 1,200-page motion, most of it, the best stuff that she has, ends up being procedurally barred because she dismisses the pro se. And there's actually a line coming up in MAM 2 somewhere, I don't recall exactly when it comes in, where Zellner says, Steve, I'm going to have to, tell them that you were indigent, and that's the excuse that, she tries to use to say that her new filing is, sort of taking over the pro se appeal. But the court did not buy that. And a lot of that good stuff in there, that it wasn't valid, but it didn't all of a sudden, because she dismissed that pro se, his pro se being Stephen's own appeal, because it was mentioned in his appeal, and Kathleen dismissed it, says, well, I can't, not going to bring that up anymore. So that is the saddest part of this whole appeal story, that all that work that she did was sort of muffed just on this one thing. And to listen to people like Tracy Strunzi, it would have been very easy to, file a motion to have the judge just, add this appeal onto the original pro se motion, and it would have been easily joined together. And it was just some simple administrative trivia that was quite easily accomplished, and she just failed to do it. I don't know whose issue that is, whether that's Kathleen's issue or whether that's the local Wisconsin attorney's issue. But to me, that is the heartbreak of this story, the procedural bar. And when you think about it, that she just wanted to dismiss this poorly written thing to add her own thing in there. And they came back and said, now that you dismissed this, there's a procedural bar. Well, of all the technicalities, right, of all the guilters you read on, do you really want Avery to get off on a technicality? Do you want to really prove his innocence? Well, I'll tell you what, he's in there now. The good stuff in Zelma's motion was dismissed on technicality. So I don't care what technicality he or Brendan utilizes to get a new trial or to get off. They are completely justified in whatever they do based on how they've been treated by the state of Wisconsin.
No, that was perfectly summed up because you said everything that I was thinking. Perfect.
So when you would think he's going to get out soon?
What we got to do is see what their reaction is. I mean, it's not a big deal if they try to dismiss. That's typical. But we're in a dialogue with them about trying to cut to the chase of, I think we'll just move towards an evidentiary hearing. So we'll see what they are willing to do,
Yeah. I hope something happens.
It will. It will.
That's like the first time. When Kaczmarek says, I don't care if you did this or not, I'm going to get you for it,
Yeah, that's how they start. Right.
And
yeah,
he did do. At 18 years, that poor boy sat there.
Yeah. This is the mind-blowing thing, right? This is not the first time that it's happened to Stephen. This whole family went through it already twice. You just cannot believe that something like this could happen to Stephen twice. The same type of opposition that we hear now is exactly the same type of voices, the same type of arguments that were made initially in 1985, right, Jack 61? The same type of discussion, the same type of comments, exactly the same type of blocking for Stephen to obtain justice was done for his 1985 case. What we see happening now is nothing new, but how horrific for the family to go over this twice. Unheard of.
Yeah. Unreal.
No.
Oh my God,
way.
what just happened? What just happened?
No way. No way, Big Jeff.
Okay,
Well,
Big Jeff, we're going to throw it over to you. What? Episode 7 is done? That means we only have 8, 9, and 10, and I had to count on my fingers to make sure I got it right. That's 3. Big Jeff.
Well, it's a good thing you haven't chopped any off. That's the title of this episode was Item FL, and we knew this whole episode, and as many episodes as it took us to get through it of discussing a murder, we knew these were all going to be zingers, right? Because Item FL is probably the most corrupt piece of evidence that they have in the state's inventory, perhaps next to the RAV key itself. And over the course of this episode, we've discussed just the if item FL were real, just a series of improbable events that have to come true. It truly is, in my mind, a man miracle that this item was discovered after multiple searches. And it managed to, the piece of Teresa Hallback's DNA managed to survive on it after months and months out in Stephen's garage. And it managed to strike her without hitting any bone, managed to go through her, being a hollow point bullet, and not sort of expand and stay in there. A lot of miracles had to occur for the state to find this, including the coerced confession of Brendan Dassey. So it is just absolutely a foul mess of a piece of evidence, and it was good to sit around with my friends and dissect it on the whole episode. We also got a chance to dabble in the cell phone stuff in the last episode, which was really good, and it was a little bit nostalgic, a little bit of nostalgic happiness to see Kathleen file that her motion for post-conviction relief. The first one, several thousand pages. I know how much it takes. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I've written technical documentation before, and it just takes forever, even to write, a 20, 30-page paper. And that paper is 1,000 pages. And that is just, an accomplishment. And it does make you, again, I always talk about the integrity of Kathleen Zeller. That is not something that you do if you're not sure. If you're sort of, she's some, whatever you might say about her, she has got the courage of her convictions, going for her. So with all that being said, it was probably a critical series of episodes leading us up to the finale of this episode. It was a pleasure to do. We got 3 more to go. Let's do it to it.
Well, thank you, Big Jeff, for the comments. Before we move on, I did want to mention to you that there was a request in the comments section for us to do an entire video just on the ma'am miracles. So I don't know if that also entices you, Big Jeff, to make a video about just all the ma'am miracles in one.
That does. It might be 10 hours long, but.
All right. Well, maybe we'll do
Let's start a list in the damn chat. I mean, people should know that there's is your Discord open? You should put the link to the Discord in the chat. If people want to enter what they think is a man miracle, come to the Discord. Make a room for the man miracle discussion. We'll write them down. I'll put in the what I think are the first 2 or 3. People can add on, and we'll do that video. I'm with you.
You mean that?
I like that idea.
It can't just be 1 or 2. There's several actually.
Oh, that's several. Oh, yeah.
Miracles, yeah. Well, anyway, we have a direction to head in, and another direction is right up to Dr. Silkman. Dr. Silkman, if you wouldn't add in your summation for today and all of episode 7, item FL in the books.
Well, I mean, only Ken Kratz and the state of Wisconsin can get away with so much bullshit, especially when it comes to item FL. To me, when I heard about item FL, did all the research regarding item FL, did it really convince me that something rotten was occurring in this particular case? And it really was an incredible man miracle, as Big Jeff used to say. But item FL cemented to me the fact that this was one of the most corrupt pieces of evidence that they had in the case, including the key. And it's very interesting that Sheree Culhane had used up all of the DNA for the key and item FL, which meant that no other person, no defense scientific team could test either the key or item FL. And when one considers that it was Tom Fassbender who phoned up Sheree Culhane and said, try to put her in his house or garage, and you look at the outcome, the key put Teresa in his house, the bullet put Teresa in his garage. You could not think of anything worse than that. and yet it occurred. And I cannot believe that the judge and the jury never tossed out the key, never tossed out item FL. And if I could just read a small little passage. This is what Mr. Kratz said about item FL. And it's very, very interesting and very poignant. I quote, this is Kratz. There's just one problem. The state's actual trial theory was that item FL, the bullet containing Teresa Horbach's DNA, passed through soft tissue, not bone. And therefore, the fact that no bone was found on it refutes exactly nothing. I should know. It was my theory. Nowhere in almost 7 weeks of trial transcripts will you find me claiming that item FL was the bullet that caused either of the 2 entrance wounds found by Dr. Eisenberg when examining fragments of Teresa's skull. Just because the state found 2 bullet fragments and 2 entrance wounds does not mean that pair of findings is in any way related. To advance a headshot theory for those bullets, we would have also needed to uncover evidence of exit wounds in either skull fragments. None were found. End quote. So guys, can you see that no matter what evidence Kathleen Zellner's team found, the state were going to rubbish and poo-poo it and chuck it out? Stephen Avery was in a no-win situation. It's as disgusting as it gets.
Well, I find it hard to disagree with those comments, Dr. Silkman. Thank you very much for that. Jack, if you wouldn't, the floor is yours.
Well, we could start back, as we talked about just briefly, the pro se motion that Avery filed and whatever it was, 13 or 14, leading up to Kathleen dismissing it and all this really, really good work. It just basically got chucked. Again, I think it's on a technicality. I think there's so much truth in what she presented, and it just went right out the window. And I think that's a real travesty, a real travesty, no matter what. Then we get, we move over, and we've talked at length about item FL, and I've actually had a little bit of discussion on Reddit recently about item FL and some other things, but this as Doc pointed out, and I think Big Jeff may even touched on it, but you talk about finding this bullet 5 months later, this bullet fragment, 5 months later after this harangue-a-dang whatever with Brendan, because they had to have something big to go back into the property. And Kratz knew he had to make this connection with Teresa being inside there somewhere, and he didn't have it. He just didn't have it, and he had to have something. And I think that's the path they chose, and it worked beyond their wildest imagination. Brennan, I think, was just completely sideways. He wanted out of that room. I think he would have told them he killed JFK if that was what it would have taken.
And Jimmy Hoffa. And Jimmy
Hoffa. Yeah, absolutely. To get out of that room, get away from him, right?
And he abducted the Lindbergh baby.
No doubt about it. And so, given this set of circumstances, and he had a bit more, got these words out of his mouth, and they're getting search warrants, and they're flying back over to the judge's house to get them signed to get back in that property. It's just crazy. It's absolutely unbelievable what they did. And I don't care what Kratz writes in his book. He used those 2 bullet fragments as what killed Teresa, as presented by those 2 skull fragments. And he can say whatever he wants. It's complete bullshit, and he knows it. And he got caught. But he's backed up by the state because for them this is a gigantic nuclear bomb waiting to go off. So of course they're going to back him up, no matter how they may feel about him, because he got the convictions, and that's all that matters to them.
If you wouldn't lead us out of episode 33.
I can't believe we made it to the end of an episode. I'm so proud. Well done, everyone. Round of applause. Episode 8, I'm looking forward to, in a sense. I know what's coming. I know where the direction goes with Making a Murder and Kathleen's narrative. I think it's going to bring in a lot into discussion. Yeah, I don't really have much in terms of this wrap up. I think all you gentlemen basically summed it up in terms of hitting item FL, the previous motion and the procedural barring, and of course watching that last scene where everyone was experiencing joy and happiness in terms of, you know, all the work and effort that Kathleen put in, only to essentially find out that it got shot down, and obviously Kathleen had to take it to the courts of appeals. So yeah, that's all I've got. On to the next, and thank you to everyone in chat and the panel, and I'll speak to you all later.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kel, and thank you, everybody else. Thank you, everybody in chat, for joining us on this journey. Thanks to the panel. This has been Discussing a Murderer.